Moving away from South Africa, let's bring the conversation back to Lagos, Nigeria. Over 40 days after inauguration, concerns have been raised by Lagosians as to why the Lagos state government, led by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is yet to form a cabinet. While some are affirming that perhaps the governor is running a one-man show that can aid corruption. A few days ago, we had Ebun Oluwadegboruwa, a senior advocate of Nigeria. He's accused the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of spending funds, public funds, while the State Executive Council has not been duly constituted.
And he did it in an open letter titled Lagos Without a Cabinet. In response to his letter, the Chief Press Secretary of Lagos State, Gboyega Akosile, has said that the governor is not flouting any law by not forming a cabinet, and that the Constitution allows for 60 days after taking oath of office to form a cabinet. We, of course, are now joined by Gboyega Akosile, the Chief Press Secretary to Lagos State Governor, to shed more light on the possible reasons for this delay. Good morning, Mr. Akosile. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Great to have you. And now, I'm sure that I mean, yes, I understand that you've put a rebuttal to the criticism, but, you know, it's not shocking to hear people across Lagos, maybe 1, 2, 3, 400 people, I'm not sure how many, ask why there has been such a delay with forming the cabinet. I want to first of all get your response to that. You know, I'm sure, do you understand the urgency with which people want the Lagos State government to set up that cabinet and get to work?
Thank you very much. Good morning to all our viewers out there. First and foremost, I need to state very clearly that there are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Maybe people were saying it in their own corners at various places, particularly the political class, who may want to be part of the new cabinet, and those who desire to work with Babajide Sanwo-Olu drive to delivering the greater Lagos that is fast rising. But to the average Lagosian out there, the most important thing to Lagosian is the functionality of government and the wheel of governance that is moving at a very fast pace, with or without cabinet in place. So what's important to Lagosian is how well are we running the affairs of the government. But let's answer the question specifically. What does the law say? What does the Electoral Act say? What does the Constitution say? Is the Constitution of the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given you 60 days. And as at the time, Ebun Oluwadegboruwa, the revered lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria, wrote his letter, the governor had only spent, I think, 37 days in office. So he has not breached any law. So he has not done anything wrong whatsoever. So it was very, very shocking to note that a very respected lawyer of that position would, be in a hurry to write such a letter. You see, you don't apply medication for an ailment that is not for something that is not wrong. You're not ill, you don't have malaria, and you begin to apply, to take anti-malaria medicine. What for? So there's no reason, whatsoever for such a letter by Babajide. So it may be a political talk among politicians. Everybody is anticipating.
Seems to might be
okay. So
please go ahead.
They all want to be part of the progress of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. It is very understandable, and maybe the lawyer, was relying on that, and he had to put out the write-up box. to us, and that was why I responded, almost immediately, to say to him that, look, it was an unsolicited advice from him. We thanked him for his concern about Lagos, but that advice was misplaced, and it was not something that was necessary. And by the way, comparing Lagos with some states was a bit laughable. So we thanked him, but then it was completely out of place.
Okay, we also know that, I mean, this is one conversation that some people have also had on the federal level, asking, when the President Tinubu would also set up his own team. And there have been conversations. Of course, we do know that he's working within time frame, the same way Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is, of course, still well within time and hasn't committed any offense yet. But I think another question I would like to ask is, even though there is still time, is there maybe any prospect as to when we would have a cabinet constituted and what is to be expected in this new cabinet? The last one was dissolved at the close of work on the 26th of May. We're hoping that in the next few days we'll have information about this. So are there things that, what should we be expecting, and maybe when should we be expecting to see this?
Thank you very much. I know that it is actually generating a lot of interest, especially within the political class. A lot of people want to know when the governor will drop the list of his nominees to the House of Assembly. But what I keep telling some of the people that talk to us, someone like you, my colleague, when they ask this question, is that we just need to wait. It's not a one-man affair. Don't forget that we're in a democracy. The same thing applies to Mr. President. Just yesterday, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Alhaji Adamu Abdullahi, said the president will not nominate or will not nominate his ministers alone without the party, if you understand. So that you have to carry the party along. So there's so many stakeholders. We are in a democracy. It's not like, oh, I am the owner of this company and this is what I will do with the staff of my company. They are not your staff, if you understand. So, it's a democracy. The leader is elected to rally around everybody and pick from advice of all the stakeholders. By the time they put everything together and they now, begin to choose the best from the pool, it's usually something that generates a lot of interest. And you have so many constituencies. You have from Mushin to Lagos Island to where you are to Ikorodu. So have several constituencies to Badagry to Epe. So everybody, all the constituencies will come together, donate to the, and of course the governor, being the number one person, will sit and begin to look at, okay, who is best suited to work with me along this line? Who is best suited to contribute to what I started in the last 4 years and take it to the next level? So it's usually not a very easy task, but I can assure you that Mr. Governor will not flout any law. He will deliver his nominees within the time frame allotted to him by the Constitution, by the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So let's just, wait a little.
What would you say? Yeah, Mr. Koshale, I just want to ask, what you would say the performance of the previous cabinet was, that of course has been dissolved now. Do you think that they performed well enough? Would you give them a pass mark? And of course, that should maybe also shed some light on the type of cabinet that we're expecting. If of course by the time Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu eventually names cabinet. So what would you rate the previous cabinet's performance as? Of course, bear in mind the way that the elections went.
Okay, the performance was fantastic. They performed very, very well. I must say they performed more than 80%, individually and collectively. Of course, that's reflected in what we had in the election. We won, overwhelmingly in Lagos State as in governorship.
That is still being contested.
So, where in the courts? Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody will go to. I mean, it's not that's not a problem. But I'm relying on the result that was announced by the election umpire, and of course the turnout of the people on election day for the governor of Lagos State to return. Of course, the next person to us didn't even get the average of our total score. So that tells you the kind of performance that we had in the last cabinet. If it was a failure, if the cabinet was a failure, of course it would reflect in what the people of Lagos State would have done on the election day for to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. But people of Lagos State came out overwhelmingly and defended the governor and said, look, he had to go for a second term. I mean, no contest, and nobody has the kind of experience and exposure that this man has when it comes to governance and leadership. And so far, you can see
it might also be
a leader.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the interest of time, we may have to wrap it up, but it might also be, maybe because there's a large number of Nigerians who do not necessarily have, proper basis with which to rate the performance of, government, and of course, I'm talking with regards to improvements in healthcare, improvements in education, security, infrastructure, human capital development, and many other, things that could be looked at. A lot of Nigerians may not have, proper standards with which they rate those things, and that's why they praise people for building bridges and for
I don't agree. I don't agree with you on that. You see, man is an experience of its location. You understand?
Yeah.
So where you are is what determines the kind of experience that you have, right? Now, if you want to go into that, along different phases of development, the government of Babajide Sanwo-Olu has done extremely well, and maybe time is not good enough for us.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Broadcast journalist myself, so I understand limitation of time when we are on a show like this. But when you look at the area of health, education, infrastructure, social development, human capital development, and the rest, I think the governor has really done well within the resources available to him, and of course looking at the size of Lagos in terms of number and in terms of course the population, or the density. So
what we're going to do, Mr. Akochile, what we're going to do is ask that you grant us, another interview, hopefully next week, so we can then have this conversation on the performance of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
That will be in the studio. That will be in your studio. We'll come into the studio.
Brilliant. That would be great. We're gonna send a reminder. Thank you very much for joining us. Great to see you. All right.